If you're like me, you've got contacts in every single possible format. Email, Facebook, LinkedIn, and Twitter. And it's becoming harder and harder to stay on top of them. To help me make sense of this mess, I use Smarter Contacts, the free app that automatically creates rich profiles for all my contacts right on my smartphone. The thing I love most about this app are the rich profiles it creates. I can see photos, job titles, company details, and updates from social networks all in one place, all in context. This is a free app and available on all mobile platforms. Head to www.untether.tv/smarter to download it today. Hello everybody and welcome to Untether.tv. I'm your host and founder, Rob Woodbridge. This is that place you come to pretty much every day. And if you haven't seen it, the site is improving. More content, more context, some written words and some video words. Go and check it out. Obviously on Tether.tv. I'd love some feedback. This is the place you come to understand what is up with this mobile industry, to talk to some of the entrepreneurs that are paving the way, that are building the things that we don't even know we need yet, but will. And they're doing it at a time when the industry itself is under complete flux. We don't have a foundation. We're doing this with our eyes closed, and God love it because it's so much fun to be a part of it. Got a great story here today. We're going to talk to a Venezuelan-born Canadian living in New York, building a company called Piictu. It's Jon Slimak, who is the founder of a company called Piictu, where we're going to be talking about this industry, which is the photo sharing, photo stream industry. Piictu is an influence-based photo gaming and tool and community, and they're based in New York, and they have a unique play here because all the feedback that I've heard about the company has been very positive around community development, which is one of the most important things to create stickiness, and we're going to talk about that. They're also a Techstars company, raised a little bit of money in the middle of New York City, which is a hub of an insane activity in mobile. I'm going to bring Jon in right now. I'm not going to talk anymore. Jon, man, thank you for coming on. I really appreciate you doing this.
Hey Rob, thanks for having me. I loved your introduction about working in the mobile, about the mobile industry and working in mobile. I think me and a lot of my peers have the exact same perspective about the excitement of working in uncharted territories, and so it's a great way to put it.
Well, there's so much is happening right now, and I don't think that the average person, and I'm not talking about the average, I just think the average consumer doesn't understand the influence that mobile is going to have on their lives and the way that we do things, everything, the way we share information, the way we communicate, and you guys are right in the middle of that because photos are certainly we talked about it a little bit before, not a bubble environment, but certainly a topical environment, aren't they?
Correct.
Why don't we talk about? Why don't we just go into a little bit of a thought? Let's give a bit of background to Piictu. What is it? Did I do it justice by describing it? Why don't you describe it in your own words?
I think you did a pretty good job describing it. I think describing Piictu with some ambiguity is very natural because I think it does have ambiguity or some openness into the product. But I'd love to tell you a little bit about what the whole story is about. I guess it could start by saying that Piictu is really a response to a trend we're seeing in all this photo bubble. I mean, in all this photo sharing activity. Let's call it.
That's a nice a bubble, but yeah.
Exactly. Well, yeah, because earlier on we were just casually discussing about that we are in a bubble market, or I don't know, somewhat of a hot segment of that market because it's photos. There's so much activity around it. So. Why spend time listening to an interview of someone working on another photo sharing app, right? The reason why we started Piictu is basically we started to see an important shift in the way that pictures were being used and consumed online. When you think of the creation of photography, the origin of photography, it was really about capturing a moment for posterity. It was this scientific magic process of being able to capture reality and freezing it for the future. It was very much an activity related to memory and capturing memory for posterity. If you walk down the line of the evolution of photography, imagine the creation of, or the first use of a postcard could be the first use of image or of a photo to send a message or to interact. If you just fast forward really fast to today, we're seeing that people are using pictures as a status update, sometimes to check into a venue, sometimes even as a step in a scavenger hunt. And there's a multitude of other uses for pictures. So the way we kind of phrase this change is that pictures are moving from objects of memory to objects of interaction. And we built Piictu to house these pictures as objects of interaction. That's basically the trend that...
So that you're seeing, I understand that. When you start to think about what that evolution from where you were, which was really about, as you said, taking photos for posterity versus taking photos for image and status, right? And that's really where we are right now. Is it become like have we bastardized the photo, or is this the evolution of the photo?
We have bastardized the photo in the best sense of the word, I think. And I think this is a reality that happened in the music industry early on with electronic music and people just being able to remix any pieces. Photoshop and Illustrator brought that to the visual industry where images could be remixed, and therefore artist work suddenly lost its value or changed its value. And the same thing we see happening in pictures, and exactly, we don't see that as a bad thing. We actually see it as a good thing.
Well, it's funny because that's what we're really talking about, is that I think that the fundamental shift that mobile has brought to the photos is that there are now many more photos since the digital revolution, many more photos being taken than ever we can ever consume. I would say, but it really is about we've lost that cost consciousness to where we take a photo and we have to go and get it processed. Now we just take photos, and out of the 1,000 photos we take, we might keep 2 or 3 of them for posterity, and the rest just get put somewhere. But the change has happened, that photos are now it's documents to life, not just posterity.
Correct. And I guess so, just to give some more context around that, in the past couple of years and even the past couple of months, the internet has really seen so much activity around photos, and big platforms have been built around photos. We all know the importance of photos on Facebook. We all know the rapid growth of a platform like Instagram.
Yep.
And so these two are great examples of they're taking the tradition of photography to the next level.
Yeah.
And what we're doing with Piictu is really not so much about photography, but about something else. We use photography, or the taking of a picture, as a medium. And the reason we arrived to that notion is because when you think about it, the most effective use of this device is taking a picture. And when I say effective use, is because with 5 taps of your finger, you can communicate the equivalent of 1,000 words, as they say. Even if you were to film it, and even if video got really fast to transfer, it would never be so quick and immediate to transfer and consume. So that's really our entry point to using pictures on Piictu.
So the question is, why are we talking about this? I think this technology, the mobile technology, moves in cycles, and kind of a year ago we went through the cycle of group texting and group chatting. A lot of companies came up with that, and then a year later, Instagram and Piictu and a bunch of companies that are into sharing photos. So why really are we talking with yet another? And maybe I have to validate this to the audience.
Yeah, it's
you
a
have to validate
question.
this. Why are we talking about another story around photo sharing applications? Why?
That's a great question. So I gave you the first part of this change in this media, the medium that's called photography. The second half of the equation is a behavioral change. It's happening in society, and because of all our activity on social media. And I'm gonna explain that with an example.
Sure.
We all remember the very sad day when Steve Jobs passed away, right?
Yep.
I'm sure we all had this exact experience of opening our Facebook walls and seeing it completely full of activity, whether it's people that worked in technology, owned a Mac or not. Everybody felt a need to express themselves about Steve Jobs. So that phenomenon wasn't necessarily alive last year,
Right.
and we call that phenomenon collaborative self-expression. And so basically, the internet is seeing right now the proliferation of collaborative platforms. Usually, people are collaborating around car sharing, around a lot of other verticals.
Yep.
There isn't a great platform to collaborate around self-expression and content. People usually use expression platforms like Twitter or Facebook to kind of hashtag content and then search for it in a collaborative mechanism. So, however, we built Piictu to house that intersection of pictures and collaborative self-expression, which we see are like big trends happening all around us.
Well, they certainly are, and I think that let's talk about that unique piece of Piictu, which is that collaborative tool, gaming tool, community building, because a lot of people lump photo sharing applications together and they compare it to Instagram or they compare it to Facebook because of those are the ones that people hear about, and but Piictu has that differentiating piece, which is that community building. So why don't you walk us through that typical user, the typical way that this application gets used?
Sounds great. So yeah, the first version that we shipped of our app, and I will take the liberty of opening the app itself and showing you the screen. You will be able to see something. So this is the main interface in the app. Yep. It's composed of a bunch of what we call picture streams. Each one of these is a picture stream. You can get into any of the streams at any point and browse all the pictures.
The cats are everywhere, right?
Cats are everywhere, I guess. I didn't know actually where I was clicking. But the main premise in Piictu right now is that anybody can upload a picture and start what we call a picture stream and get picture responses from either friends or the community at large. Yeah. And then anybody can also respond to anybody else's picture stream. So on Piictu, every picture that gets uploaded is really the beginning of a conversation, and it's really looking to see how other people are doing the same activity in their version. Or again, there's kind of a couple of main use cases, but I love that
because one of the things that I like about something like Instagram, like the concept of Instagram, was very much that it was, and I think Piictu really kind of accelerates that, is that the concept of bringing the earth closer together, right? At this very moment, I'm looking at a stream of what's going on somewhere else on the planet, and I love this kind of shrinking of the earth. It's a small world and all that kind of stuff. Whereas, I'm watching the sunset rise over Ontario, I'm watching the sunset somewhere in Asia and Europe, and then I'm watching 3 hours later the sunrise in San Francisco, the same kind of way, right? But it's all like this constant stream of what are you doing today? But it's so disjointed in other applications, and that's where you guys come in so well, which is you bring it all together to say, okay, here's the sunset stream or the sunrise stream, right?
Correct, and I'll add something to that. On Piictu, it's not intended to have one sunrise stream. Yeah. The idea is to have short, specific interactions around an idea. So Piictu is not meant to be a cataloging tool. Actually, Instagram works great as to catalog and apply taxonomy to your pictures. We really are very much about the specific interactions around an idea.
You must get that comparison with Instagram all the time,
for sure.
Because it is. I mean, I suppose it's the behemoth or the company that it's on everybody's tongue right now. So, how do you guys deal with that question? So how are you different than Instagram?
Well, first of all, the whole team is Instagram users. We really love Instagram as a product, as a company. We use them as a model on a lot of the decisions we make in terms of how we position ourselves and all that. We are very comfortable in this idea that the type of pictures that go into Piictu are very different than the pictures that go into Instagram. In other words, meaning Piictu's not really for last night's dinner pictures,
Yeah.
or like your nephew's graduation, or like it's not really to where you document the special moments in your life. It's more for asking your three best friends what they're looking at right now, or asking for opinions on these pairs of shoes, or at the same time, it becomes a tool for brands to kind of engage and interact with their audience as well. So
we're going to come back to the brand question, but the great story that I read about how you came up with the idea of Piictu. Why don't you walk us through that? Because it gives a good context to exactly that.
Great. That's a great. Thanks for reminding me that. So yeah, last summer, around last summer, not this last one. So a summer, a year and a half ago.
Yeah.
When the World Cup was going on, I was a BlackBerry user. I'll admit to that. And so I have friends spread out all around the world.
Wait.
Like,
So just 1 second, John. It's okay because you're Canadian to
Okay.
admit that you use a BlackBerry.
Great. Sounds
All right.
good. So
Just saying.
okay.
Perfectly fine.
So yeah, I had friends all around the world, and because the best Latin soccer team at that point was going to be either Brazil or Argentina. Anyways, long story short, all my friends are Argentina fans.
Yeah.
Every time there was an Argentina game, this tradition started where all my friends would put on their Argentina jersey wherever they were throughout the world and kind of take a picture of themselves, like either driving in their car or sitting in their work desk, and this kept happening like every single time there was a game. These images started appearing on our BlackBerry Messenger group.
Yep.
And it started to make the first this started to put into evidence the first idea that these pictures weren't very much about capturing a memory, or no one was really going to necessarily come back and look at them maybe 2 months from now. However, whenever those streams happened, they produced a lot of joy and excitement for the people, and sharing for the people that were participating in them. And then the other part of it was they were really locked in this BlackBerry group. They weren't shareable, they weren't trackable, they weren't rewardable. So we really directly took that use case and built a whole like infrastructure around it. With a big focus. Sorry, let me just add one thing to that. Sorry, no. I'll let you go.
Well, I was saying that, excuse me, because of the fact that it really did resonate with you guys, that like this is a gap, because you're sharing a moment in time, and I love that story simply because every one of us right now can think of that occasion, whether it's a big sporting event, a concert of some sort, that stream that comes with it, where you're capturing, like you're almost trying to capture a 360-degree panoramic memory of that event from everybody's perspective, right? And I think that that's so powerful, and I think it's missing when you start to think about some of the other applications. So this is summer of 2010. So walk me through what happens after that. You got the idea, then how do you go from, like, what are you doing at this point? You said that you went to school as an architect, architecture school. So how do you take that idea in the summer of 2010 and translate that into Techstars, investment, business, launching, New York? Like, fill us in there.
So I'll say that could be a long story, but I'll try and like distill it.
I got all day.
Oh, no. So anyways, basically I had just finished opening a restaurant with another partner.
Are you kidding me?
No, really. So
where was the restaurant?
Here in Manhattan.
Okay.
So I had a lot of ideas that I wanted to work on about technology when I left architecture. I left architecture like 3 years ago.
Yeah.
I was, trying to launch a tech idea when the opportunity to open a restaurant, because I had a very good friend in the high-end restaurant industry, came up to me with a space, with a business model, with a potential investment. So I worked for a year and a half on that just because it was right there. So I did have to put kind of technology on the back burner. At that point, I didn't have the idea for Piictu. I had some other ideas I wanted to work on. When right after I opened the restaurant was one of those kind of square one moments in life where I just finished something important and was a big. I was very happy and proud of myself, but I didn't have where to go to work the next day because I wasn't going to run that restaurant. My partner was the managing partner of that restaurant. So being in square one is a great place to be to start a company because there's very little to lose, as most people know. So. At that point, I had already had this idea for Piictu when we finished opening the restaurant. Again, I was opening the restaurant that summer when the World Cup was going on. So I started on a co-founder dating cycle, as many people watching the show might have gone through. After meeting a lot of people, I met my co-founder. Fast forward.
Don't gloss over that. Like, so when you talk about meeting a co-founder, you're not a technical guy, are you? Are you technical?
No, I'm not.
So were you looking for a technical co-founder for this?
I was looking for a technical co-founder.
So walk through that process. Like, is this like speed dating? Do you put an ad up in the paper? Do you like? How did you find your co-founder?
That's a great question. I think that's $1 million question in everybody's mind nowadays. How does a non-technical founder find a technical co-founder? Yeah. And if you want to make it even harder, how do you find a great technical co-founder?
Exactly.
My answer to that is hustle. It's all hustle. And it's all putting forth a deal that somebody else can't resist. Yeah. And I'm not talking about equity. I'm talking about effort, energy, and just like hustle. That's really what it was about. I had to win these people over with hustle. And I mean, basically with the energy, with showing him. Showing him that he wants to be a part of this. Yeah. And so it wasn't easy. It was a very frustrating process. But the truth, and I'll say this, I think a big part of it was I had a strong attitude of I'm doing this no matter what.
You're with me or not. I don't care. I'm doing it.
Exactly. And I think that has helped greatly throughout the whole process of building this company and other successful projects that I built before as well.
I love it.
People can like easily subscribe to that energy if
Well, it's got to be genuine, right? Which is the big thing.
Exactly. If it's genuine, I agree with that. I agree exactly.
So, but just the last question on that. Because it's $1 million question. It can be $1 billion question if done right, right? That's exactly. the difference is that you don't want the $10,000 question because then you haven't got the right technical co-founder. But when you finally convinced your technical co-founder to come on and be a part of this, was there ever a thought in your mind like, I'm so passionate about this idea, how do I make sure that guy is so passionate about the idea? Was there ever that moment, like, how do you gauge that? Or you just kind of go on faith that this is something that you want to do?
I'll give you my esoterical answer now, which is I think in life you have to kind of push forward and find the flow of whatever you're doing. And I think it has been true in Piictu and in other projects I've done. Just one thing just kind of tends to work and open the door to the next thing and open the door to the next thing. So there wasn't a lot of friction or me thinking about if this person was going to be good or not. Basically, when that was there, that candidate became not such an attractive candidate, and therefore I didn't pursue him so hard. Yeah. When it wasn't so there, I was naturally more drawn to meeting with him, convincing him, talking to him. So
it just kind of worked out. Like, there was a feeling, right?
I kind of worked out, and I generally try not to, you want to impose yourself a little bit to get the ball rolling, but the whole process can't be an imposition because, it's just telling you something is not right, so.